Mutendri gunatmakaha tadravyam atyagad vishvam gobi surya ivatapan.
such a perfect understanding of the absolute truth. And whether one takes it from a scientific or mechanistic viewpoint or from a more personal viewpoint as expansions of the energy of the Supreme Person, it's very delightful either way, because one's getting same knowledge. Now one may say, what is the harm if we are not interested in the so-called personal aspect? We're only interested in the functions of the energies. We're not interested in any personification of that. What's the harm? The harm is it's incomplete. It's not perfect. It's not complete knowledge. It's incomplete. And if one insists on establishing that as the only truth or the highest truth, then it becomes even more dangerous, because then the personality of Godhead becomes disregarded and offended. We make great offenses to the Lord. We don't recognize him. A child may not recognize the father, or may not recognize the hand of some higher intelligence when he sees some automatic door opener. But we wouldn't expect that from those who are taking the position as brahmanas. In the Vedic culture, brahmanas are the intelligent class, and they're meant to lead the others in society. So we have that, in a sense. We have our philosophers, we have our scientists, we have our religious leaders. But unfortunately, they're not presenting the truth. They don't understand the truth. And the reason they're not understanding it is, there's many reasons, but their lifestyle is not in the mode of goodness. That one has to have a commensurate lifestyle to be able to understand these higher truths. Then if one becomes a devotee of Krishna, that lifestyle is so advanced that automatically one can understand all the things that the Brahmanas can understand. And this is one amazing factor that we see, that even Westerners who were not raised in this culture and whose lifestyle was not Vedic at all before, as soon as they take up the process of devotional service, bhakti yoga, they're allowed to understand this knowledge very easily. And when they explain it, others are astounded. So the personal form is the original. That makes sense. How can we relate to it? Because of the sun. Perfect example. The sun is localized. The sun globe. Annam. Annam here in Sanskrit also means egg. So Brahman Anda, it's a Brahman's egg. And from that sun globe, there's so many rays going out. Billions and trillions of heat and light rays. So, which is the source of which? I think most thoughtful people would say the sun globe is the source of those rays and that light and that heat. Although the rays and the heat and light, they exist simultaneously, if one further examines, he would have to conclude that the source of the two is the globe. And if one goes even further, then he finds out there's a person who's actually the deity of the sun. The sun is not just, it didn't just happen accidentally, drop out of the void. It's managed by Surya, Vibhishwan, and all the other planets in the universe are also managed as one would consider. If you go to every city in the world of our experience, it would be silly to think that there's no one managing the city with its traffic signals going on and the lights coming on and the streets organized and people living in the house. To think this is just accidental is childish. So we're fortunate that we have such very reasonable explanations of how the universe, all the universes are coming about, and we have God at the same time. So we have God and science. They haven't learned how generally to mix these two very well. Generally, those who believe in God have a difficult time with science, and those who believe in science have a difficult time with God. But in Krishna consciousness, we have no difficulty because the perfect science is given, but it's all happening under the direction of the person, the Supreme Person. Even when he says, this is his Prakriti Bina Prakriti, his separate energy. It says here he's not so attracted to the material energy as the spiritual internal energy. Like a man with many wives, he may have one wife that's more favorite to him than the others. He's attracted to her most. So in that sense, the Lord is more attracted to the internal potency than the external potency. So he gives more attention.
Thank you very much. And the other transcendental sphere of the personal activities, qualities, and form of the Lord, they become afraid because they don't want any personal relationship because they have bad experience in this material world of relationships with persons, and they think that by surrendering to anyone, they'll be exploited. But by surrendering to Krishna, one is never exploited. Rather, one gains everything. One revives this eternal body full of bliss and knowledge, never again to return to this world of miseries of birth, death, old age, and disease. So by surrendering to Krishna, no one's ever the loser, rather one's the gainer by millions of times. And anything you give to Krishna, that thing is never lost. When we offer foodstuffs to Krishna, even though Krishna eats it, still the whole thing remains as it is. Om Purnamada Purnamidam. So Krishna is very kind to his devotees. And we could see from this example of the sun, Krishna is all pervading by his energies, just like the sun in this universe is all pervading by its energies, heat and light. And if you go 5,000 miles north to northern Canada, still the people there, the Eskimos will say that the sun is shining on my head, and here the same sun is shining on our heads. And if you go 5,000 miles south to Argentina, people there will say that the sun is shining on my head. So the sun is a material thing, but still its rays are all pervading in this universe. What to speak of Krishna? Krishna is completely spiritual, not material. So his energies are pervading everywhere, not only this universe, but all the universes. So if we want to understand God, if we want to understand the soul, there's no other source other than the Vedas. We cannot understand by experiments because we experiment with imperfect senses, so our experimental conclusions are always imperfect. We cannot understand by logic and argument because Krishna's potencies are inconceivable. They're beyond the purview of logic and argument. So we have to accept the authorities of the Vedas. And before one is initiated by the spiritual master, one can have some doubts. But after accepting a spiritual master, you should accept everything the spiritual master says. We should accept everything Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita says without argument. You cannot argue with the spiritual master. We have to accept everything as it is. And by doing so, we'll make nice progress about going back to Godhead and leave this world of suffering. And Goloka Vrindavan is not mythological, it's an actual place. And all of us are destined to go there. But if you try to go by material means, it'll be a failure. One could travel at the speed of mind for millions of years, yet still he'll find that the Vaikuntha region is far, far away. But by taking the dust of the lotus feet of a pure devotee on one's head, one can easily cross over this material ocean and reach the highest abode, Krishna Loka, Goloka Vrindavan. Are there any comments or questions? Yes, Jai Keshava Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. I was wondering, you were talking in reference to your comment about once one takes a spiritual master, they follow everything the spiritual master says. Is that correct, basically, what you were saying?
Yes.
So is there room in that relationship for a difference of opinion? Say, I prefer to have this many, like a tablespoon of cumin seeds in this dish, and then you prefer to have that, or I like associating with this person, but maybe the spiritual master doesn't like associating with that person. So where's the line drawn, and say, using my intelligence to make decisions based on my situation and so on. Thank you.
Well, the details on devotional service, there's some wiggle room there, but the basic concepts of Srimad Bhagavatam, that Krishna is God and the spiritual master is his representative, that one has to have a firm faith in Krishna and Guru, then all the imports of the Vedas will be automatically revealed within the heart. But many times when Prabhupada was asked about details of developing Vrindavan, Prabhupada would tell Kirtana Swami that use your intelligence or consult a farmer like that. But as far as the transcendental knowledge goes, the spiritual master is the ultimate authority. Is that correct, Donovan? Yeah. So,
That seems literally, there's too much example of gurus, subject to go by and on, and stumble across actually fell away also. These gurus had disciples, so the disciples following these gurus, there must have been trouble about the gurus who had issues, so. Isn't it that Shankar and Sadhu, they should back up the spiritual masters, the orders? That's kind of what the scripture is signifying.
yes, Prabhupada gave 11 disciples the opportunity to become gurus, but there's a possibility of misusing that authority and falling down. So that's not really guru. A guru means representative of Krishna, and as soon as the so-called guru deviates from Krishna's instructions, then he should be rejected. Just like a Sikracharya. Sikracharya was the guru of Bali Maharaj. Sikracharya was opposed to the worship of Vishnu, so that kind of guru should be rejected because he's not actually guru. Guru means representative of God. But the bedrock is the Shastras. As long as the guru is following the Shastras, then he's bona fide. But if he deviates, then he's not bona fide. Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, this is true. I read the tree, the doctor, it's the name. Like you said, the bedrock. The Shastra is the supreme authority in the guru. And the thought of back up the Shastra.
Yeah.
We don't manufacture anything. You know, of course, there are time, place, and circumstance. So the guru, he makes adjustments according to time, place, and circumstance on how to preach and how to present the Shastra for the common man. Of course, in regards to the disciples, they're saved when they're following their spiritual master, and they should not have their own ideas. They should not put their own ideas over the instruction or the suggestion of the spiritual master.
Yeah. There's one of the 11 gurus in England after Prabhupada's departure. He was putting LSD in the Charitamrita because he was thinking this will enhance the devotee's spiritual experience. So that kind of guru was quickly rejected by any intelligent disciple. Yes, Maharaji.
I just had a comment about something that's not related to this topic. I just appreciate that you shared that with Krishna. And it's not, we don't consider Krishna. And as far as my experience, it's, I don't always get reciprocation from relationships involved with others, but as a Krishna, I can see that even though I think that I'm getting his reciprocation right away, I can see that he doesn't reciprocate every time that we call out to him, or in our hearts saying to Krishna, I'm doing this for you, or I think I want to give this to you. It's very nice. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you for your realization. It's time for the Sankirtan Festival. Thank you for hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. How glorious is divine grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada.
So, with the week of July 30th, we have at least 3 book distributors that are present in Central right now. I know the fact that we had book distributors going on in St. Louis, where around the afternoon, and frequent visibility there. We'll have to wait to know their bookstores. So we'll just present the ones that we have available this week. So until we have a total of 3 book distributors. With in third position with a total of 3 small books, with distributing of 3 small books, with a total of 0.75 book points. We're done with Prabhu. And second place, total of with distributing 1 Mahaprabhu and a total of 2 book points. Radhasali Dasi. And in first place with distributing 11 small books, 2 medium books, 1 big book, for a total of 4.75 book points. Subal Sakapabli. Okay, Madam Prabhu, would you like to share? No, okay. Radhasali, you come up to the camera and share. First place to Subal.
She visited us in the East yesterday. The way that she found this is a better story. There was Mother David, she was reading for some time, and she was taking a walk in a very great Johnson. And so this lady, she saw Mother David and started running after her. Just by seeing the signs in her dress, and it was just curious. And so she's wondering, just like this, and really like a mom. And so from there, she goes over to her, and she has a vitamin pizza and loves the vitamin pizza that she has. So I give her that transition and So I don't think she falls in love with the perfect and says, can't say anything to she does.
Yeah. So that's it's really confused about going to this something which is going down. So I figured I could use the opportunity and really have announced what we did in the month to try some books. So that's I was so much shocked, surprised because we're doing the dynamic of the month and there was some young kids going spine straight intro and generally was found someone who possibly I'm not used to something that's such a straightforward way. I was so skeptical. I think they really appreciated and they were smiling. So I was dancing close to them and the song was speaking and they felt really smiled to be part of it. So I'm just now that is straightforward and sincere to write this already to so I transfer the discussion page. Until next week, same good time. That's.